Hello and welcome to the Translate My Store app by Hextom. Today I'm going to be giving you an introduction to this app and covering its most important features. So let's start with the first thing you're going to want to do with our app, which is add some languages for translation. So from the main page here, we can click Add Languages, and it's going to take us to the Languages page of the app. So you can see we don't have any languages yet. So I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick French. I'm going to add the language. So once a language has been added, it's going to default to the basic translation type. This is the fastest, simplest way to get your store translated, is with these basic translations. Now, they are presented as is, which means you can't edit them, but if you're happy with them out of the box, then they're great. And so we're going to be using them for now. So I've added the language. It hasn't been published yet, so I'm going to hit Publish. And there we go. This language is now active on my site. Now, for customers to see it, we're going to need to turn on the languages selector. So I'm going to do that next. I'm going to go to the selector page in our app here. I'm going to switch to the languages selector for now, and I'm going to turn it on. There's some customization options. For now, let's just hit save. There we go, the selector has been saved. So if we go to my store and give it a refresh, see the selector, I have it set up in the bottom right hand corner. If I switch to French, there we go, French translation. And if we're happy with it, it's really that simple. The selector has a couple other options. If you don't like it in the bottom right hand corner, you can switch it to whichever. You can also insert it into the site header. I'm using the Dawn theme, so I'm going to leave it set to that. There we go. Give my test store a refresh. You can see the selectors up here now. So let's talk about some of the other features. So in addition to the basic translations, if you want a little more control, we have the advanced translation type, which I'm going to change to with this More Actions button right here from the Languages page. So now that French is on the advanced translations, this is going to require a sync, which we're going to do automatically right away. And what that's doing is our app is scanning all the text on your store so that we know what needs to be translated. So the advanced translation type is a little bit different from the basic translations. It's not a one-click solution. Instead, it has several different translation tools, which you can see on the sidebar here, and I'm going to be talking about them for you one at a time. Additionally, once you're on the advanced translations, we have this auto coverage feature. And so what this does is everything that you don't have an advanced translation for, we will implement a basic translation for it. So this is really helpful if the basic translations are mostly fine, but there's a few things you want to change. So you can go to the advanced translations, make the translations that you want, and let the basic do the rest. So I'm going to turn it on, and it's going to have this auto coverage on. And if I turn it back off again, we can see what that looks like. It'll come up with auto coverage off. So let's go back to the dashboard. So now that we've got the advanced translations on, we can see there's a few more options on the dashboard here. And these are all the various translation tools that we're going to go through. So let's start with the AI and autopilot translations. So the AI translations work like this. We break the content of your store down into the various text types, including all, and we can make translation tasks for these text types, either by hitting Translate Now, or if you want a little bit more control, you can hit Configure and work with these filters. So I've got some translations already because I have translated French before, and our app has found the translation data that was stored with Shopify. That's why it says 97% already. If the language was new and the data wasn't there, it would start with a 0%. And then I could hit Translate Now. And that's going to create a translation task, which we can see from the View Tasks page. you've got this queued AI translation now, and that's going to translate all outdated and not translated text from English to French. So going back, the autopilot translation, what this does is this makes the AI translation tasks automatically, so you don't need to tell our app to do so when you make changes to your store. And it's just a matter of turning it on, configuring the filter if you like, and then hitting save. I'm going to leave it off for now. Going back to the dashboard, let's talk about the manual translation next. So this works in a similar way in that it still breaks down the text of your store into all these different categories. And you can go in, see the text, and provide the translations for yourself this way. It also has a very helpful keyword search tool. So if you have a specific text element that you want to translate and you're not sure which text type it falls into, you can do a search for it this way. Going back to the dashboard, let's talk about the visual editor translation tool next. This one works a little bit differently. You can enter my storefront password here. First thing you do is you switch to the language you're translating in. And what this tool allows you to do is navigate around your store and translate the pieces of text individually. This tool is most useful for third-party apps and other dynamic text from your theme that doesn't appear in the manual or AI translation tools. So if you have another app installed, like a review app, for example, you can translate the text with this tool. Next, let's talk about the import and export feature. So what this does is it lets you create spreadsheet files of the base text and translation data, and it can also import those files. So you can make a spreadsheet, pass it off to a native language speaker or professional translator, have them fill it in, and then import those translations back to your store. We have an image translation feature. What this does is it allows you to replace images on your store with different images when you're in a different language page. So if you have an image with some text in it, you can provide a different image with translated text for when people are browsing in a different language. You can translate product images, collection images, and other images on your store this way. Our app also has a migration tool. This lets you move translation data from one theme version to another, or even one store to another. We also have a backup and restore tool, which can create backups of your translation data. We have the automatic backup turned on by default, and you can restore those backups if anything goes wrong. We also have this glossary feature. What the glossary does is it lets you set specific texts that get translated in a very specific way by the AI and autopilot translation tools. So this is useful if you have, say, a brand name, and you want that brand name to not be translated or to be translated in a specific way that the AI translator might not know to do on its own. So that's the most important features of our app. If there's anything I talked about that you'd like to have tutorialized for you in a little bit more detail, we have numerous text guides and video tutorials available that you can check out. Also, if you have any additional questions, you can always reach us at help@hextom.com.